Okay, the final thing is the plot. What happens? If you know anything about how I write, you know that I love coming up with ideas, and I love having not only the main plot, but 5, 6, 7, 8 subplots. So when I'm writing a novella, one of the ways to make it shorter is simply to have fewer subplots. But that also helps you to write it faster because you've got less scenes and less things to kind of tie together. So while I do kind of have a few little subplots in any case. The the primary plot, the finding out whose skull it is and what happened, is very much the bulk of the book, and the subplots basically come out of that, as opposed to as is the case in my novels, where you have many scenes that really have nothing to do, well, on the surface at least, have nothing to do with the main plot, but are about the characters who are involved in the plot. So you, as the reader, get to know the characters and get to see things that the police don't. And in the novella, one of the ways that I kept it shorter was to not have very many of those scenes. There are a few, but very few. The bulk of the scenes involve the police in this instance. So it was actually a lot more straightforward than I'm used to, which is why it took me a few months to write instead of a couple of years to write, because that's how it goes. And it also took me a lot less editing, because I didn't have as much to double check and go back and move around and so forth and so on. But the plot, I had a vague idea when I started. Okay, you've got, a skull. You have to find out who it belongs to, and as I talked about before, the whole idea of this belonging to a missing person, someone who's gone missing in the past. And that involved actually a fair bit of research, which is a whole another thing. My plot has to hang together. The last thing I want to do is to get a book written or even half written and find out that one of my major plot points doesn't work. So I spent a lot of time, once I got my characters and got my general ideas, then the bulk of the time was spent doing research on forensics. I know a fair bit of general stuff on forensic. I've been to the Writers Police Academy. I've got, I don't know how many books on forensics, but a lot. But I'm still, searching Google and whatnot to find out about things. And just all the little details when I decided on, where some of my characters live. I had to do some research there. So I drove down and I was taking pictures and, all that kind of thing. There are just a lot of little details that I want to make sure that when I put something in my book, I actually know what I'm talking about. And I also got my son, the veterinarian, to check any parts dealing with the dog, and trying to catch the dog and that kind of thing, to make sure that they were accurate, and actually got quite a surprise. I'm like, would you do this? And he was like, well, when I do that. And, oh, you really actually know about this stuff. So my plotting is really plotting plus research. It's not just brainstorming, it's brainstorming and making sure that everything I come up with makes sense. If I have a character who has a certain occupation, I have to make sure that I'm right in what I say about that occupation. And my plot is largely, checking out everything I say and doubling back and making sure, and not giving away too much too soon, and sometimes moving a scene from one place to another because this has to happen before something else happens, and so on and so forth. And I could probably talk for 2 days on plotting because it's fun. But that's all I can say at this point. And I hope you enjoy the book. And that's about it. Thank you.